The battlefield was silent now. Only the smoke moved, rising slowly above broken machines, dead soldiers, and blackened ground. A red sun hung low in the sky of a distant moon, casting everything in the color of dried blood. Serena Val lay face down, in the dirt. Her breathing was shallow. One leg was twisted. A deep wound burned across her side, leaking thick purple blood. The blast had thrown her far from her squad. Her weapon was gone. Her armor cracked. She had failed. Her people, the Kareth, believed in death before weakness. If a warrior fell in battle and could not rise, they should accept it. With honor. Serena accepted. She closed her glowing violet eyes and waited for death. But death didn't come. Instead, she heard footsteps. Not heavy Kareth boots, but softer, lighter. Human. She reached weakly for a sharp rock. If this was the end, she would go fighting, but her hand was too slow. A figure knelt beside her. Easy now, a voice said. Calm, firm, male. She growled. Leave me. The man ignored her. He rolled her gently onto her back. His hands moved fast, checking her pulse, stopping the bleeding, covering her wound with something cool. You're gonna make it, he said. She glared at him. His skin was tan, his face was scratched, a simple human, no armor, just a dusty jacket and a red medic symbol on the arm. You, human, she hissed. I chose death. He didn't stop working. I didn't, he replied. Serena tried to push him away. Her pride screamed louder than her pain. I must die. I fell with honor. You don't look very honored to me, the man snapped. You look half dead and stubborn. She spat at the ground. He smiled a little. That's a good sign. Spitting means you've still got strength. She hated him, but she hated the burning in her side more. The man worked fast. He cleaned the wound with a small spray. It stung. She didn't scream. What's your name? He asked. She stayed silent. He shrugged. All right then, I'll call you Warrior Princess. Her eyes flared. Serena Val, Clan First Blade. Nice to meet you, Serena. I'm Jackson Riker, Field. Medic, Earth Corps. She closed her eyes again. Why save me? He didn't stop moving. Because I don't care if you're Kareth, human, or rock monster. If you're breathing, I fix you. She felt a tube pressed into her arm. Her vision swam. Pain faded. Sleep, he said. You'll need it. Her last thought before blacking out was strange. Why would a human give mercy to a warrior who didn't ask for it? Later, in a quiet field tent beyond the smoke line, Serena opened her eyes. She was on a cot. Clean, bandaged, alive. She cursed under her breath. Riker walked in with a cup of hot broth. You're awake. Good timing. I was about to eat your soup. Serena sat up slowly, groaning. You should have left me to die. He handed her the cup. I get that a lot. Still don't listen. She looked at him, confused. You're not afraid of me? Should I be? I killed humans like you. Riker leaned against the wall. War makes monsters of us all. But I don't see one right now. I see someone who needs a second chance. She sipped the soup. She hated how warm it felt. I am Kareth, she said. Our honor is in dying in battle. You took that from me. Riker stared at her. No, he said. I gave you something else. Outside, war was still happening. Ships burned. Soldiers marched. But inside the tent, a new kind of battle had started. Between a human who refused to let go and an alien warrior who no longer knew what her survival meant. Serena Val sat up slowly on the edge of the cot. Her body ached, but not from the wound, from shame. She stared at the human medical tent's thin walls, listening to distant explosions. The war hadn't ended. She was still here, still breathing, still a traitor to her own beliefs. In Kareth culture, a fallen warrior accepted death. No rescue, no healing. But now her side was bandaged. Her skin was clean, her pulse strong. She had been saved, and it made her feel weak. The flap opened. Jackson Riker walked in, carrying a small metal tray. "Morning, Princess," she bared her teeth. "Do not call me that." He grinned. "Right. Serena Vall, Clan First Blade. Deadliest. Glare this side of the stars, got it." He placed the tray beside her. Soup again, and a small cube of dried human bread. She didn't touch it. "I don't eat prisoner food," she said. "You're not a prisoner. I'm not a guest either." Riker pulled up a crate and sat across from her. "You're alive. That's enough for me." She looked away. "Why do you keep helping me?" He shrugged. "Because you're hurt, and because I'm stupid." A long silence passed between them. Serena picked up the bread slowly. Her stomach growled before she even tasted it. She took a bite. It was dry but warm. She hated how good it felt. Later that day she stood, shaky but upright. Riker caught her. Before she fell, she shoved him off. "I don't need help. You just nearly hit the floor. I'll crawl if I must. I need to go." Riker crossed his arms. "Go where?" "To the battlefield. I must die properly. Alone." He shook his head. "Not happening. You would stop me?" "I already did. Once." She grabbed a knife from the nearby table. Riker didn't flinch. "Go ahead," he said. "Cut me. I won't stop you, but you'll still be here, and still be alive." Serena froze. Her hands shook, but not from rage, from confusion. Back on her homeworld, her elders always said, "Pain is proof of worth. Death is the seal of honor." But here in this strange place, a human said something completely different. Staying alive takes more strength than giving up. Which one was true? Which one made her a warrior? That night she couldn't sleep. She sat, alone, staring at the glowing medkit lights beside her. Riker had gone outside to check on another patient. She had the chance to escape. But her legs still trembled. Her body still failed her, and deep inside something else made her stay. Doubt. The next morning Riker returned with a surprise. A Kareth dagger. He handed it to her. "Handle first. I found this near where I pulled you out." She took it slowly. Her fingers closed around the familiar weight. "You could have kept it." "I don't steal," he said. "I'm not your enemy." She stared at him. "Then what are you?" He gave a small smile. "The idiot who saved you." For the first time, Serena didn't snap back. She placed the dagger in her lap, then whispered, "If my people see me alive, they'll spit on me." "Then they're wrong." "No," she said. "They are my blood. Their ways built me." He looked at her carefully. "But are they still building you? Or holding you down?" She didn't answer, because she didn't know. As Riker walked out, she touched her side, where his human hands had stitched her together. She still hated being saved. But slowly, she was starting to understand it. And that scared her more than death ever did. The third morning came with heavy silence. Serena Vall sat upright on her cot, her back straight, face calm. But inside, her heart was at war. Her wounds were healing faster than expected. Riker's strange human medicine was effective. Too effective. She was no longer dying. She was recovering, and that meant the shame of survival would follow her now, not death. Jackson Riker walked in with a steaming bowl. "Look what I found," he said, smiling. "Vegetable soup, no meat this time, you're welcome." Serena narrowed her eyes. "Why do you always bring food?" Riker sat beside her casually. "Because angry warriors eat slower. Gives me time to talk." She ignored him, but not the soup. She picked it up and began to eat, slowly, silently. Riker watched with quiet satisfaction. He didn't say it aloud, but he knew it was a small victory. One bite meant trust, even if she didn't admit it. Outside, footsteps approached, heavy, measured, Kareth armor. Serena froze. Riker stood. The tent flap opened, and 3 Kareth warriors entered. Their leader wore red war paint, His name was Commander Kelvax, a cousin of Serena's and one of the most feared voices in her clan. He looked at her, then at the soup in her hands, and spat on the ground. "So it's true," Kelvax growled. "Our first blade shares meals, with humans." Serena slowly set the bowl down. "I did not ask to be saved. You did not fight hard enough to die," he snapped. Riker stepped forward. "Easy, big guy." Kelvax ignored him. "You should have fated with honor." Serena's voice was calm. "And yet I still breathe." "Which makes you weak." Riker spoke again. "She was dying. I kept her alive. You want to blame someone? Blame me." Kelvax turned to him. "You dishonor her by forcing survival." "I gave her a choice," Riker said coldly. "She's here because she fought to stay alive." "She shouldn't be here at all," Kelvax barked. Silence filled the tent. Serena stood, wincing only, slightly. She picked up her dagger from beside the cot. "You speak of honor," she said. "Yet you come into a healer's tent and spit like a beast." Kelvax stared at her. "You are no longer First Blade." "Then make me less," she challenged, but he didn't move, because even wounded she was still Serena Vall. Riker looked at her, surprised. "You stood up for yourself." Serena looked back at him. "I didn't do it for me." She paused. "I did it for the soup?" Riker laughed. "So you do like it?" She didn't smile, but her eyes weren't as cold. After the Kareth left, Riker sat beside her again. "You don't owe them anything," he said. "I owe them everything," she replied. "But I'm starting to wonder if what they gave me is something I still want." He leaned closer. "You were brave today." She looked at him. "I was angry." "That's how bravery usually starts." That night, Serena sat alone outside the tent. The stars above the battlefield were sharp and bright. In Kareth stories, stars were the souls of fallen warriors. She wondered how many now watched her from above, judging her, shaming her, maybe even waiting. Riker came and sat beside her. He didn't say anything. She spoke first. "I've never had someone stand between me and my own people." He glanced at her. "You've never had someone who didn't want anything from you?" She thought about that, then nodded. "You didn't try to own me. You tried to save me." Strange silence passed between them, not heavy, but filled with quiet understanding. A human and an alien warrior, not enemies, not lovers. Not yet anything clear, but something was growing, and the battlefield didn't feel so cold anymore. The sky over the outpost turned silver with ash. Missiles no longer rained from the clouds, but tension still lived in the air. Quiet, sharp, waiting. Serena Vall stood in front of the main tent, her back straight despite her still healing wound. The Kareth commander's message had come earlier that morning. Return to be judged before the Council of Blades, or stay among humans and die in shame. She already knew what judgment meant. They would demand she prove her honor, or lose everything. Inside the tent, Riker watched her pace. "You don't have to go," he said. She paused. "I do." "Why?" "For people who want you dead." "They're not just people," she said. "They're my blood, my name, my past." Riker stepped forward. "And what about your future?" Serena met his eyes. "I don't know if I have one." They walked together toward the old Kareth command stone, set on the edge of the broken battlefield. It stood like a monument, ancient and cold, surrounded by a circle of armored warriors. As Serena approached, the circle opened just enough to let her in. Riker moved to follow. Commander Kelvax raised a hand. "No humans." Serena spoke sharply. "He comes with me." Kelvax snarled. "Your judgment is Kareth business." "He is my witness," she said, "and my debt." Riker blinked. "Debt?" She turned to him. "You gave me life, I must show them what that means." Inside the circle, the wind blew hard. The oldest of the Kareth elders stepped forward. Her name was Elder Vall. Her face was carved with battle marks. Her eyes were sharp like broken glass. "You have returned, Serena Val," she said. "And you bring the human who shamed you." "No," Serena said. "I bring the one who saved me." Murmurs rippled through the warriors. Kelvax stepped forward. She broke the sacred code. She did not die in battle. She let her enemy stitch her, like a child. Riker's hands curled into fists, but he stayed quiet. Elder Val raised a hand. "Serena," she said, "you have two paths. Prove yourself in the circle of flame, or cast away your name." Serena stood tall. "What if I choose neither?" The elder frowned. "Then you are nothing, not Kareth, not flame, not worthy." Riker stepped forward. "Now, I don't know your laws," he said, "but I know this: she didn't ask me to save her. I did it because no warrior, human or alien, deserves to die in the dirt." Kelvax laughed. "And now she hides behind a human." Serena's voice cut through the wind like a blade. "No, I stand with one." Gasps followed. The circle tightened. "You would shame your clan further?" Val asked. "I would honor the truth," Serena said. She looked around. "You told us death is honor. But what if living takes more strength? What if survival, despite pain, is the truest form of courage?" "Elder," Farl studied her, "then you must show us. In the flame." The trial was set. Before the twin suns fell, Serena would enter the circle of flame, a sacred chamber where a warrior must pass through burning light without armor or aid. If her heart was weak, the flame would consume her. If her soul was pure, it would reveal her truth. And Riker? He was not allowed inside. As they stood before the stone gate, Serena turned to him. "If I fail," he stopped her. "You won't. If I burn, I'll wait," he said, "until the ashes cool. And if you don't walk out," his voice caught, "then I'll carry you again, like before." Serena stared at him, not as Kareth, not as warrior, just as herself. She reached out and placed her forehead gently against his, an ancient sign of trust from her people. "I'm not what I was," she whispered. "And I am not what you fear," he replied. Then the doors opened, and the flame waited. The doors to the circle of flame closed with a thundering boom. Serena Val stood alone. No armor, no blade, only a thin ceremonial cloth around her shoulders, marked with the old flame symbol of her clan. In front of her was a long stone path, glowing red from the heat below. Above, twin streams of fire danced across the ceiling like living spirits. This was where warriors came to prove their soul. Most walked out changed. Some never walked out at all. Outside, Riker stood just beyond the barrier stones. He could hear nothing inside. The Kareth guards stood still like statues, refusing to look at him. He paced back and forth, sweat dripping down his brow, not from heat, but from helplessness. "What is happening in there?" he muttered. No one answered. Inside, Serena took her first step. The flame did not touch her yet. The stones beneath her feet were hot, but bearable. Her breath came steady. Her heart did not race. She whispered to herself, "I am the blade. I am the flame. I am not afraid." But then the flames ahead shifted. They formed figures, ghost-like versions of fallen Kareth warriors. Her brothers, her sisters, her commander, all staring, all silent, until one stepped forward. It was herself, the version of her that had died honorably in battle. "You let a human pull you from the soil," the flame ghost whispered. "You should have died." Serena's jaw tightened. "He gave me a choice." "Did he give you honor?" the ghost hissed. Serena stepped through. The flame it burned but did not scar. "I am still Kareth, but I am more now." Outside, Riker felt a jolt. A shimmer of heat exploded near the door. He looked at the guards. "Something's wrong." "Do not speak," one said. Then a loud crack echoed from inside. The guards didn't move. But Riker did. He ran. Inside, Serena fell to one knee. The flame had shifted from fire to ice. Freezing wind cut through her chest. Pain seared her wound again, like it had that first night. She gasped, vision blurring. Then came the second voice. Soft. Steady. Human. Serena, stand. Her eyes widened. It was his voice. You've come too far. Get up. The chamber door burst open. Guards shouted. But Riker didn't stop. He sprinted into the chamber, past searing heat, across the burning path. He dropped beside her. Her skin glowed, fire coiling around her arms like living ropes. You fool, she whispered. You're welcome, he replied, gripping her hand. Then the flames did something no Kareth had ever seen. They turned blue and calmed. They curled around, both of them not burning, not destroying, but accepting. The chamber itself hummed, ancient runes lighting up across the walls, as if the fire had made a new judgment, as if together they were something whole. Outside, the elders stood frozen. Commander Kelvax growled. He broke the sacred law. But Elder Val raised her hand. Look at them, she whispered. Inside, the flames faded. Serena and Riker stood side by side, glowing with the same light. When they exited, the warriors stepped back. No one spoke, until Elder Val finally said, she walked through the fire, and he walked with her. A long silence. Then one warrior dropped to one knee, then another, and another. Serena looked around, breath caught. She wasn't just alive. She had changed the law. Later that night, Serena stood on a hill overlooking the battlefield. Riker sat beside her, shoulder touching hers. You disobeyed your laws, she said. He smiled. You're worth it. She turned toward him. For the first time in my life, she said, I didn't walk alone. A week passed. The fire trial became legend. Kareth. Warriors whispered the tale with disbelief. A warrior survived the sacred flames. A human walked with her, and the fire accepted both. But to Serena Val, the fire was not the end. It was just the beginning. She no longer wore armor. Instead, she wore a simple jacket, human-made, with a stitched flame mark on the back. Each morning she walked the camp, with Jackson Riker, not as protector, but as healer. Inside the med tent, she now stood over wounded humans and Kareth alike. Her hands were careful, her touch steady. Riker taught her how to clean wounds, check vitals, even change IV tubes. Why do humans use so many wires? She asked one day. Because duct tape doesn't fix arteries, Riker replied with a grin. Serena shook her head, but there was laughter in her eyes. The other soldiers watched her quietly. Some still feared her, but many now respected her. She wasn't just a warrior. She was something new. But not everyone was pleased. In the far tents, Commander Kelvax sat with two other Kareth officers. He slammed a fist against the crate. She has become a pet to the humans. A healer, a servant. She passed the trial, one officer reminded him. With a human's help, Kelvax growled. The flames tricked her. Fire can lie, but blood never forgets. Serena, unaware of the storm brewing, stood by Riker's side that evening as he removed a shrapnel piece from a young human soldier's arm. You're learning fast, he said. I'm still slower than you. Sure, he replied. But you make better soup, she raised an eyebrow. I have never made soup. Exactly, they both chuckled. Then silence fell. Serena looked down at her hands. These hands once broke bones. Riker looked at her carefully. They still can, he said. But now, they can also heal them. She studied her reflection in a cracked mirror. Her face was still scarred, her body still strong, but her eyes were softer. I don't feel like a warrior anymore. Riker leaned closer. Maybe you're something better. Later that night, A small Kareth child was brought into the tent, burn marks across her arms from an old engine flare. Serena froze. Kareth culture did not believe in healing children during wartime. It was seen as weakness. But Riker simply said, "We don't let kids suffer." Serena knelt and gently touched the girl's arm. The child didn't cry. She just looked up and whispered, "You're the firewalker." Serena's heart ached. She nodded slowly. "Yes, but fire doesn't only burn. Sometimes it warms." The child's smile changed something inside her. A feeling Serena didn't have a name for. But Riker did. "You're becoming more human." She didn't argue. But as she helped the girl rest, shadows moved outside the tent. 2 Kareth soldiers watched from the trees. One whispered, "Kelvax says she's turning soft." "Soon," the other said. "We end this shame." That night, Serena stood by the fire watching the stars. Riker joined her with a drink. "Thinking of home?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. "I'm thinking about what I used to believe." And she turned to him. "I don't know if I was wrong or if I'm just waking up now." He nodded. "You can still be a warrior," he said. "But now, you fight for something else." She looked at him, calm but fierce. "I fight for what saved." Behind them, the darkness listened and it planned. The moon above was full and white. In the stillness of night, the camp slept. Soldiers, medics, warriors from both sides. Some had begun to believe the war was over, but not all. Not Commander Kelvax. He moved like a shadow. Beside him were 2 loyal Kareth warriors, faces hidden, blades silent. They slipped through the edge of the camp toward one tent. Her tent. Inside, Serena Vall stood with her back to the entrance. She was placing fresh herbs into a heating pod for the small Kareth child who still coughed in her sleep. Jackson Riker lay nearby on a cot, finally resting after a long day. He never slept deeply. As the flap opened slightly, he sat up, frowning. Then, slash. A blade tore through the air toward Serena's back. Riker moved without thinking. He threw himself between the blade and her. Steel hit flesh. He cried out. Serena turned, eyes wide. Blood. His blood. He fell to the floor, clutching his side. She caught him. Why did you do that?" she whispered, voice shaking. He smiled weakly. "Still. Protecting you, princess." Then his head dropped. Kelvax stepped forward, blade dripping. "You forgot who you are," snarled. "So I came to remind you." Serena's eyes burned with rage, but something deeper stirred behind it. Not revenge. Resolve. She stood. Slowly. Calmly. And as she did, the flames in the lanterns around the tent flickered, then glowed blue, the same color they had burned during her trial. Kelvax raised his blade again. "You lost your fire, warrior." Serena spoke softly. "No. I became it." She moved. Fast as lightning. No armor, no weapons. But she didn't need them. Her fists struck like falling stars. Her foot crushed one attacker's knee. Her elbow cracked the second's jaw. Then she faced Kelvax. "You speak of honor," she said, breathing steady. "But you strike from shadows. You would kill a healer, a child." Kelvax roared and lunged, but she caught his blade with bare hands and broke it. Kareth guards stormed in, but they froze at the sight. Serena, glowing with blue fire, stood over a fallen commander, and behind her, Riker lay bleeding, but alive. Later, in the med tent, Riker opened his eyes. He groaned. "Did I stop him?" Serena leaned over him. "No. You distracted him. I stopped him." He gave a slow, weak grin. "Good teamwork." She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "You are the most foolish, stubborn, beautiful thing I've ever known." His eyes widened. "You think I'm beautiful? Don't get used to it." A few days passed. Commander Kelvax was exiled. The Kareth Council declared Serena Flameborn in full, not just warrior, but symbol of renewal. Humans called her the fire healer. She didn't care for either title. She only cared when Riker finally stood again. Before the two armies, she stood on a high stone. "We were taught to die for honor," she said, "but a human taught me to live for it. We were raised to fight for pride, but now I choose to fight for peace. Let the Karath and humans no longer walk on separate paths." She looked at Riker. "Because together, we burn brighter." The crowd was silent. Then a Karath child stepped forward. She held out a flower made of metal scraps. Serena took it, then knelt. The war was over. A future had begun. That night, Riker and Serena stood under the moonlight. The fire between them no longer burned with pain. It warmed them both. He looked at her hand. "Scarred and strong, you sure about this?" he asked. She smiled. "Even a warrior knows when to stop fighting and start building." They leaned close. And in that moment, the galaxy turned a little quieter, a little warmer.